thought I'd set the stage with really putting some context for the environment a financial service marketer is operating in this day and age. And the question is, do you need to react to the changes in your current environment? And I think, we can't even have this discussion without thinking about the fact that, the number of channels and the volume of channels, and be it digital and offline and social and mobile, have just a proliferation, expanded exponentially over the last 10 years, for example. And when you add the kind of regulations that unfortunately financial institutions and the marketers are constrained by, it makes it very challenging in some respects to figure out what is the most appropriate way to engage in these channels. Now, the reality is consumers are actively in these channels, and they're doing this regardless of what company or industry they're engaging with. So, it really, and we'll explore that deeper. And the second, I think, trend is that there's just more marketing. If you look at the volume of email today, and just the fact that when we consistently ask organizations, is email still, a prevalent medium, B2B and B2C both consistently say yes. Email is not only the most profitable channel along with the website, but it's also the most widely used still today. And there's a study by Radicati Group in 2010 that estimated there's like 294 billion emails per day in 2010, and about 90% are spam. So, we're all getting accosted by email messages in our inbox, and frankly, it has caused the average consumer, myself included, to rethink the way we engage with companies. If you're not giving me something relevant, it's spam, and I really need to see something that is relevant to my either in my buying process or my problems that I have on a daily basis, and I want this company to speak to me. So I think because of these forces, it really means that marketers must be relevant for sure. You've got to be constructive. You've got to really add a positive influence and give a positive experience. It can't be just that it's some generic message that is you just want to communicate. People need to feel like this was a useful time that I spent reading this email and engaging with this company. And also, I think you need to be human. I mean, we keep talking about all these automated ways, and I think people automatically assume that automation means kind of a robotic. You start to think about that in the context of a robot, and it's not that at all. It's about engaging people with relevant communications and very much telling them you're not just an organization that's some, gray area that's out there and we have a name and we're an institution. No, you're a personal connection with them, and you care about them and you understand them as a consumer or a prospect. So that really means that marketing needs to be a conversation and not an interruption. And as you think back, 30, 40 years ago, Mad Men, for example, marketers had tremendous influence, but they, if they said smoke cigarettes, people smoke cigarettes. They said drink Coke, and it was really about kind of standing on that pedestal, a one-to-many relationship, telling people what to do. And today, you really have to be able to have a conversation, and it's it's that customer experience across all these different channels that people engage in that really sets your organization apart. So I think, for financial service marketers, really you feel constrained. And you see an opportunity, you see the market changes that are out there, but, the question is, can and should we adapt? And so if a financial service marketer is in a jar, for example, the constraints on that jar are created by regulatory compliance, legacy applications and processes that are internal that may have grown organically over time, but that just you're not in a position to adapt to the changes that are happening, particularly around digital, which is the topic for today's webinar. And then, just the general infrastructure that's in place to support all these different channels, it didn't necessarily grow with the channels. And so now you're looking back saying, now we've got a ton of channels to think about. How are we going to do this? And I thought I'd start off with just, financial services. I think when we talk with organizations, they see Joe Consumer out there. And this is, a profile of the average consumer. They're on email for sure. Everyone is. They might be on mobile and may access their bank on mobile occasionally. they probably have a tablet now. I mean, there's some very compelling statistics. I was actually at the Salesforce event, which was 30,000 businesses in a room in San Francisco. And Benioff, the CEO, asked the audience, how many people brought a tablet? And I would say over half. It was just really amazing. And I think he actually said iPad. So, you think about how compelling the tablet will probably become and how people are using it to engage with businesses. It feels like, well, maybe that's something we should be looking at. Obviously, the web, social media, people have those profiles, 800 million users on Facebook. Seems pretty compelling. All of them need banking. And then, obviously, interactions at the local level. So what is Joe Consumer looking for? Well, he's looking for convenience. He likes the personal attention in his local branch and likes to engage that way. It's convenient. And he has a Facebook page. He tweets, and he purchases online. When he's going to go buy something, he looks things up online. And so I think, for the average financial services marketer, you're looking at that going, wow, that seems very compelling. So do we incorporate social media? Is that a really good part? Should we use that channel to engage customers? Do we need an iPad or Android app? If everybody's using a tablet, well, maybe we do. How do we engage in cross-channel marketing? Can we get our printed materials online? It's one thing to create a high-resolution print document. It's quite another to translate that into a medium that can be put onto a web page in a timely manner, or used in an email campaign to use the copy. So this creates challenges with these new channels that are emerging, and you're having to really figure out how to bridge the gap between them. How should you use email to communicate with your target audience? We're gonna explore this and how companies are doing it today. Can you even make data-driven decisions? If you've got tools and technologies that are out there, can you kind of extract the insights and optimize your content over time, particularly for digital? And, of course, how do you ensure regulatory compliance within all these constraints, which just adds a whole other layer of complexity to the challenges because, frankly, it's challenging enough to engage across channels when you don't have regulatory compliance to worry about. All right, so working backwards and looking at what's going on today, we asked organizations, we asked financial institutions, what types of email marketing campaigns do you currently execute on a regular basis? And my hypothesis here was that what we would typically see was financial institutions are really very heavily leveraging customer service email campaigns. So, those communications, and people expect that from their bank. They want to receive those emails, and they're willing to engage and open them. And frankly, the open rates on those customer service emails are very high. And I think, what we're seeing is it skews how well financial service institutions are perceived as being effective with email. But when you actually ask marketers to tell me, are you really doing retention campaigns in email, or are you even trying to acquire customers? By the way, email is not the best channel for acquiring new customers. But if you had very targeted content and you knew and you'd done analytics and you're going to deliver a campaign that says, I know this person is a legit prospect for this particular product or service, that can be a very real source of new revenue for the organization. And so I guess the first thing that I want to see here that I wanted to address is keeping and maintaining an opt-in list, for non-customers, down here in the customer or the acquisition, is still very challenging. We know whose email is what from a customer standpoint, and maybe sometimes we don't actually. We know that. But I thought what was really interesting is when we separated, and this dark blue bar is the top performing financial companies defined by revenue, click-through, and open rates on their email. They were almost twice as likely, or actually more than twice as likely, to say they were using email for cross-selling and upselling to existing customers. And this is really compelling because what this means essentially is you've got to be, targeting and segmenting your existing customers with products and services that are relevant to them. You're upselling, you're cross-selling. And it's really driving significantly higher revenue for these organizations. So if you're able to extract the key insights and deliver it over a digital channel like email and really be very personal and relevant to them, it really is, it does drive a compelling argument for using a digital, strategy.